So obviously we know that Brock Purdy's out weeks, but before we talk about that, I do actually need to bring something else to your attention. I didn't see this until recently, but you actually also have James Cook hopping on the injury report, gets in a limited practice on Wednesday. Looks like he is dealing with the hamstring. And you have Jeff Mueller pointing out, obviously missed a bunch of time with the contract holdout. Maybe this puts him at a slightly higher risk for injury. We can go back and we can look at what we had with like Brandon Ayuk last year, right? Being a very relevant instance of a player holding out and then all of a sudden being very rusty and maybe, just maybe, being at a higher risk for injury. But beyond that, the other big things that we are going to have to discuss, and I will say as I pull up the other things, obviously, if Ray Davis is sitting out there on your waiver wire, I would highly recommend going and picking him up. I already put in a bid to pick up Ray Davis in the Flock League. I'll tell you exactly who I plan on dropping in just 1 second. But anyway, Roshan gets in a limited practice. Don't care. Evan Ingram gets in a limited practice. So maybe if you have Evan Ingram, you still have some hope here for him to be an okay tight end this next week. Obviously, there are so many waiver wire tight ends that's not that big of a deal. But Dallas Goedert officially does not practice on Wednesday. So with Dallas Goedert not practicing on Wednesday, what I would say with this is more likely than not, we are going to have to drop Dallas Goedert on my own team because he's my second tight end behind TJ Hawkinson. And I have both waiver wire bids out for Byshell Tootin and Ray Davis right now, given the Tank Bigsby trade, and on top of that, the James Cook injury report. Now, let's move this over. Isaiah Likely doesn't practice on Wednesday, so Isaiah Likely not playing anytime soon. Darren Waller, who cares about him? Mason Taylor, who cares about him? Juwan Jennings won't practice on Wednesday. So obviously, we already know that Kittle's on the IR, and now that you have no Jennings practicing on Wednesday, it does really set up for Ricky Pearsall to have almost everything. And then if we were looking at Pearsall, it's tough to be super excited about him given the context that you're not going to have Brock Purdy and instead it's going to be Mac Jones. Now, with that in mind, do I think that Pearsall's not startable? No. The reason being is while I may not be able to sit here and know for 100% fact how much better Brock Purdy is than Mac Jones exactly, what I can do is I can look at how sportsbooks move their over-under and their spread lines, and we can see the implied team total. And right now, the Niners project outscore about 22.5 points this week. So the Niners project to be an average offense to slightly above average offense. So if you project to be an average offense and you have no Kittle, and on top of that, you have no Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall is probably going to be a jam this week. And then Brock Purdy, again, could miss multiple weeks here. So if you had Brock Purdy and your league is one which there are a bunch of different quarterbacks on the waiver wire, like if there's Caleb out there, if there's Goff out there, I would probably go ahead and I would just let go of Purdy. And then Ben Johnson on how to get Calvin Unguy more involved. I need to call more runs. This is kind of funny because every single run that he had this past week went to DeAndre Swift. Dallas Goedert suffered a sprained knee, uncertain for week 2. Didn't practice today like we already discussed, so I'm going to be dropping him. And then we have this big report. Bill Krosky-Merritt will eventually be the Commanders' lead running back. I'm going to be honest with y'all, okay? I had 4 separate people reach out to me to trade for a running back in the Flock League today. A lot of them wanted, or let's say, I'll just be honest with the numbers. 2 of them reached out trying to get Travis Etienne from me, and then 2 of them reached out trying to get Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt from me. And I'm going to be honest with you as well. I sold Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt about 2 hours ago. You will see that in the Flock League video, what I sold him for. It's not, it wasn't the easiest decision, right? Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt looks like he is just going through, breaking out all over the place. And to sell him, it is painful for the long-term upside that he has because it is a good offense. Okay, and then outside of that, we have Travis Hunter will likely play more defense in week 2. Not great for Travis Hunter's fantasy value, of course. And then Xavier Worthy, the Chiefs are not currently considering surgery for a shoulder injury, so you may get Worthy back at some point. And then I saw somewhere else, I don't know if it was the Underdog Twitter elsewhere, that Drake London is actually going to be playing this week. So London should be good to go. But I think that should be it for all the injury updates. Obviously, we have a bunch of team reviews to get to. I will say quickly that I do not have my team reviews turned on the site, but I do have my start sit questions, trade questions, and super messages. What we decided based off the amount of questions that we've been getting submitted on the site is I am not going to have my questions on all day long like we used to. It's just not possible for me. We get too many, and I want to be able to spend a decent amount of time on each question. So I'm going to just keep the questions on during the live streams. That way we can be more reasonable and we can maybe turn back on some team reviews as well. Now, of course, if you want to know when I am live so you can ask us a question, one, just make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm sure that you already are subscribed, but hit the bell next to the subscribe button and YouTube will tell you when we go live. And then you can come in. We give away a ton of free questions. Not only do we give a ton of free questions, but at the same time, on top of that, again, you can really only submit questions now when we are live. But here, Ime K Dude says, any trade ideas, 2 receivers for a true alpha wide receiver one. Thanks, Mason. Thank you, my guy. I'm sorry that it took us so long to get to this for you. Let me send you over a couple of free questions. Here we are currently the #1 team in the league analyzer, and you kind of already know where I'm heading with this. Because if we go through and if we pull this up, I mean, we have an incredible running back room. We have an elite tight ends, and we have a ton of wide receivers. Now, the thing with the wide receiver depth for this team in particular is we can only start up to 3 of them weekly. So if you can only get Tet, Adams, and then I guess Olave or Hunter in your lineup, we are eventually going to have Olave, Matthew Golden, and Travis Hunter all down on the bench when Chris Godwin comes back, right? So in the long term, we for sure want to be going through and we for sure want to be looking at selling some of this wide receiver depth. Now, the issue with selling some of this wide receiver depth is who can we sell right now? Who is producing? Because while in the long term, I really like Matthew Golden. He ran 13 routes week 1. In the long term, I really like Chris Godwin. He's not going to be ready for another month. In the long term, I really like Travis Hunter, but based off week 1 usage and them telling us that he's going to be playing even more on the defensive side of the ball, I don't want to tell you to start Travis Hunter week 2 if we can avoid it. And in the long term, Ted McMillan's a rookie that should also get better. So while our wide receiver room is very deep, if you're just looking at the rest of season rankings here, the fact of the matter is, in terms of in the short term, the guys that you could sell and get some value out of, it's not as good as you would assume. It's not as good as you would think. So with that in mind, I would probably be a little hesitant on saying that you're going to have an easy time selling these receivers. If you could sell Tet McMillan and Kyler Murray and go get an elite quarterback, I know you're not going to be able to get it after week 1 based off how they performed. If you could get Allen, if you could get Lamar, I would love to. But that's just not going to be possible with any of these receivers. Looking at the waiver wire options for you currently, I really do like Byshell Tuden as a pickup here and Ray Davis, depending on the James Cook injury update that we get tomorrow. But the realistic scenario that you have on your roster is I can't cut Matthew Golden for Tuden. I can't cut Trey Benson for Tuden. I can't cut Judkins for him. So I think you're probably actually kind of sitting here with this team as is. And yeah, the wide receiver depth, you just can't sell because they are long-term pieces. So the fact of the matter is you have the #1 team in this league. We have the elite running backs. We have the elite tight end. While I agree, we want to be selling wide receiver depth to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup eventually. I think that if you were to actually try to do that today, you are not going to be able to have a ton of success. I think Hunter, Golden, Godwin, Tet, they're all better long-term options than they are short-term. So I'm probably going to be leaving this as is for the time being. I don't even think we see any waiver wire moves. So I feel very sorry that I'm not having any suggestions whatsoever for you. Let me send you over another free trade question just in case halfway through the season you find something that you like here. But I really appreciate you. And I really hope I was able to help you out in some way. But yeah, thank you so much again for being a member of the flock now. Let's move this over to our next question. This is not Verzi. I appreciate you and excited to look at this as well. This is a 10-team double flex league. Was looking for advice on where to improve via trades, waiver wire, etc. Use your draft sheets, so I think my team isn't too bad. As always, really appreciate you and your work. Really appreciate you as well, my guy. It looks like there are two very bad teams in this league. Let me send over some free questions here. But if we're looking at, say, like the two very bad teams, it's Goat Purdy, which needs to cut Purdy at this point. And it's also going to be the Snow something. But if we go through and if we look at what we have, we are in the mix with everybody else. This is a 10-team league where we can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So realistically, the wide receiver depth here is not completely meaningless because you can start a ton of them. But with that being said as well, we should have decent options on the waiver wire. So as I pull this up, quarterback, we're pretty damn weak. We have Mahomes. Considering the Rice injury, the Rice suspension, as well as the Worthy injury, I think that you are in a little bit of a compromising spot with Mahomes as your only QB. Looking at running back, we have the two anchors with Derrick Henry and Jahmyr Gibbs. The depth beyond this isn't going to be super important. We have Warren, Brian Robinson, and Ramadre. So if I'm looking at what we have at running back, realistically, there's not much for us to discuss. There's not much for us to do. We had the George Kittle injury, which is what I'm assuming kind of nuked us down in the league analyzer, right? And then looking at what we have at receiver, we have Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Godwin, and Kayshon Boutte. Again, this is a wide receiver room in which we are actually needing some depth because you can start 4 of these guys weekly. And what I would look to do is, again, I would start Ricky Pearsall over Rome Odunze, and I'm actually going to be moving Ricky Pearsall up our rest of season rankings. Again, I was very concerned with the Brock Purdy injury and how that was going to impact the projections of this Niners offense. But with sportsbooks telling us, hey, Mac Jones isn't going to be that much of a fall off, I would probably prefer having Ricky Pearsall over Rome Odunze at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that flip myself. And then looking at tight ends, again, we have Henry in the short term, Kittle in the long term. So realistically speaking, the question here is there a way that we can upgrade at quarterback? Because in my opinion, quarterback's by far and away the weakest spot on your team. If this was a 2 wide receiver 1 flex, I think undoubtedly you would need to go through and you would need to look to sell some of these receivers in a 2-for-1 deal to just upgrade the wide receiver position inside the starting lineup. The hesitation that I have with telling you to sell these receivers and Mahomes to go get yourself an elite quarterback, don't get me wrong, I'm going to try my best. I'll sell Patrick Mahomes and T. Higgins for Jalen Hurts. I'll sell Patrick Mahomes and T. Higgins for Jaden Daniels. I'll obviously sell them for Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Those are 2 offers that we are initially going to send out, but I would imagine those get rejected. And I'm going to do that with any wide receiver on our team. If they would rather have Devontae Adams than T. Higgins, send them Devontae Adams instead of T. Higgins. I just figured they would prefer Higgins because that's who I would prefer. Now, even though you're limited on the trades that I think you can make with this team, I do think that we could go ahead and probably make a couple waiver wire pivots with dropping Kayshon Boutte, who I understand had a great week 1, right? But we have such a large sample of Josh Downs being an effective fantasy option that I would drop Kayshon Boutte. I would pick up Josh Downs. And going over to your running back position, There's no way in hell you'd ever consider starting Jalen Warren, that you'd consider starting Brian Robinson, that you would start Ramondre Stevenson, right? So the fact of the matter is, if we're looking at the depth at running back, we are really trying to project these guys out for the long term. Like, who could we start once we get to the bye weeks? I would probably opt to go with the upside that we get of somebody like Caleb Johnson. So there are two different things that I would do here. I would drop Ramondre Stevenson, who, yes, is better than Caleb Johnson in the short term, but in the long term, I don't think that is going to be the case. I would also drop Brian Robinson, because if we're looking at some of the other running backs on the waiver wire, like DJ Giddens, Tyler Algier, Tank Bigsby, Ray Davis, they're all just premium handcuffs, right? That's the same thing with Brian Robinson. But the difference between Brian Robinson and all of these backs, there's actually, I guess, only one player that's different here, and that's going to be Ray Davis. Where if we're looking at Ray Davis, you actually potentially have a path to hit a starting lineup, considering what we have with the James Cook injury, where James Cook just popped up with the hamstring. So I would drop Brian Robinson for Ray Davis as well. Going over looking at tight ends, we have Hunter Henry ranked over Loveland right now, especially with Kittle injured, because realistically here, you already have the production covered in the long term, right? The only thing that will matter is that short-term fill-in, and I would way rather have Hunter Henry in the short term over Loveland based off what we saw this past week. So overall, trade-wise, I'm going to try to do the T. Higgins and Mahomes deal for an elite quarterback, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think the probability that gets done is pretty slim. I think the realistic moves that you're probably going to be looking to make would be cutting Ramondre, cutting Brian Robinson, cutting Kayshon Boutte, picking up Josh Downs, picking up Caleb Johnson, and Ray Davis. But I really appreciate you. Let me just triple check. Yeah, I did send you over some of those free questions as well. So if there's anything that you want to follow up here, my guy, I'll be super happy to check it out for you. Now let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be Gummy Heart says, was considering trading Connor and someone else for Brees and getting Benson off the waiver wire. Also, congrats on your engagement. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And let me go ahead. I'm going to have to pull up the screenshots on another screen and then show them here. So as I do that, I want to remind y'all, I'm giving away a ton of free questions in every single live stream. All I ask is you hit the like button, you subscribe to the channel, and if you wanted to be here in the live streams with us, you could hit the bell, but you don't need to do that to be qualified for the giveaways. All you have to do is hit the like and subscribe. Then you'll be qualified. And I would go ahead, and if you want to win after getting qualified, you got to drop your flogfantasy.com username in the chats. So do that. We'll pick a couple people for some free questions right now. And then we will pull up Gummy Heart's team to look at. Okay. And I know there are a couple teams here at the top that are dynasty teams. I'm sorry, I'm saving those for a dynasty live stream. Okay. So we just got that pulled up here. And then he says, I did not mention that we are required to roster 2 tight ends and quarterbacks. Happy to see that. Update. Own father sniped Trey Benson from me. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, thank God we read that beforehand. But let's go through and let's pick some people to win. We got Rudy the Goat. Oh, I didn't even know. We don't have y'all's chats sharing on the screen. I need to set that up. There we go. Now your chats can show on the screen. Rudy the Goats just sent you over. Or no, this is not Rudy the Goat. This is Rudy 1296. How did I get to Rudy the Goat? Okay, I just found you, Rudy, my friend, and just sent you over a free start sit. And this is A-Duck 8VT. Or E-Duck 8V. Just sent you a free start sit question as well. Thank you so much again for hanging out with us in the live stream. Really do appreciate y'all. Okay, so now let's pull these screenshots up. So Trey Benson got sniped off the waiver wire here. That is going to be relevant. And can y'all let me know who is, what platform is this? Is this CBS? So anyway, here, quarterback, we have Jaden Daniels. This is a league in which you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So having the elite quarterback is going to make a massive difference, right? So super excited seeing Jaden Daniels. I think he is optimal for the QB. For this league. And it looks like, yeah, you are required to roster that second quarterback. So we have Justin Fields currently. And with Fields, completely fine with him being our second quarterback. I actually probably prefer him over a lot of other quarterbacks that you get off waivers. A main reason for that is if we already have Jaden Daniels, the only thing that we care about is the highest ceiling possible, right? And Fields is a very low floor, but the ceiling is incredibly high. Going over and look, this is an insane team. Looking at running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, true RB1. We have James Conner as well. Hilarious that CBS is projecting Conner for more points than Jonathan Taylor. Going over and looking at what we have at running back, we have Javonte Williams, a quality depth play. We have Caleb Johnson in the long term, and you are required to roster 2 tight ends. So that's why we have Mason Taylor, despite having Jefferson, Nico, who should both project to be wide receiver 1s in the long term. Then going down to the bench, we also have Olave and Rome. I think Olave is more of your high floor play. Rome's your high ceiling play. We have Godwin on the IR as well. And then tight end, we have the biggest hits so far of the season at tight end with Tyler Warren, who looks like he has a real shot to be this year's Bowers. This is an incredible team. For me, I think even if you have to roster 2 tight ends, I would be very surprised if Mason Taylor is the best name on your waiver wire at the tight end position. The main reason for this is if we're going to be looking at Mason Taylor, one, I think he was a stretch for projecting him well in the first place. And then on top of that, we're in a spot that you have the injury. So I would drop Mason Taylor. I try to find anybody else. I try to find someone like Jawan Johnson if that's possible. Obviously, assuming your waiver wire already ran, so I'm assuming like Harold Fannin got picked up. So I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just trying to come up with some trades here with this team. As realistically, I think you can make an easy deal. Like if you're telling me that at points there are players as solid as like Trey Benson on your waiver wire, and in a few weeks we're going to have to open up a spot for Chris Godwin anyway. I love the idea of trying to up tier from James Conner specifically. Like if you could go through and if you could try to take, this is going to be something that y'all really hate to hear, but I think we probably try to trade Igbukah. The reason for this is Igbukah is maybe the hottest player in fantasy football right now. If you are looking at Igbukah, elite college prospect, round 1 NFL draft capital, comes in week 1, immediately drops 20 points. But you do have Godwin in the long term. You do only have him seeing 6 targets and 4 receptions. And you do have the easy backfill options for your flex spot. So if we could trade Igbukah and Conner to get up to all those running backs that went in round 2 of your draft, whether that's Achane coming off a horrible week in Miami, whether that's Bucky, whether that's Jacobs, whether that's Chase Brown, you would include Taylor in that list, but we already have Taylor. I think we would go ahead and we would try to move off Igbukah at that price point. Obviously, we're going to make sure that the other person's overpaying. But if we were to look to do anything else with this team, like obviously I would be willing to trade like Olave and Conner or Rome and Conner for a smaller up tier. Like if you wanted to look at like the James Cook range, if you wanted to look at the Breece Hall range, you could go there. Or obviously, I mean, Amari and Hampton as well. If you could find a way to trade like Rome and Conner for Amari. And anyway, I am in 100% agreement with you. I think the plan with your team is we're going to go through and we're going to do what we can to try to send James Conner and one of those wide receivers to up tier at running back. If we wanted to get to those elite guys that went in round 2, that looked like maybe they should have gone in round 1, like the 5 we listed, I think we would be trying to trade Egbuka. And if we wanted to go down to the lower tier where we're looking at like Hampton, I think we'd be going with Rome. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Now let's move this over to Sal Parisi. Says, I like my wide receivers even after week 1. Not super worried, especially with Rice eventually. I drafted Bowers and Warren at tight end and pick up Loveland just to mess with. Okay, yeah, you're doing too much here, my friend. Very worried about my running backs. Who can I trade Bowers or Warren for? I knew I shouldn't have drafted Kenneth Walker. Well, right now we are currently sitting 4th in the league analyzer. We do have the number 1 tight end room with the combination of Bowers and Tyler Warren. So I always stress, like, I don't want to be messing with this stuff. I don't want to be taking like 2 elite tight ends, then putting ourselves in a position where we need to be forced to trade one. If you're in a tight end premium format, obviously, by all means, you're allowed to go through and you're allowed to flex a tight end. So in that case, it's viable having both the combination of Bowers and Tyler Warren, but here you're like, you try to do this. I know the intention of people when y'all try to do this, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of my league mates. And what typically happens is they just take advantage of you. So here's what I'll do. I will try my best to come up with a trade selling one of these tight ends. We look across the roster. Running back 2 is our weakest spot, right? HN RB1, RB2, Kenneth Walker / Tracy / Sharps. Like, this is a garbage running back room in a 10-team league. 12-team league, definitely more acceptable. 10-team league, it's not. Wide receiver, Jefferson, Tet, Rice, Terry. So we have 2 wide receivers in a flex that we can start in the short term. And then obviously Rice gives us the 4 quality wide receivers in the long term once he is back. But that's not going to be for another 5 weeks. So if I were to go through and if I were to try to make some moves right now, I think that I would be willing to drop Quinshon Judkins even with your team in favor of Jordan Addison. You're not starting Judkins anytime soon. You're not starting Addison anytime soon. Realistically, who would I rather have 3 weeks from now when Addison's back? I'd rather have Addison. So I would go ahead and I would drop Judkins. I'd pick up Jordan Addison. And then we would approach the team that has George Kittle, which before I forget, let me send you over some free questions real quick. Okay. This team's the one that has Kittle. They have Jake Ferg. So here's the thing. They don't have like a running back 2 that we could trade Tyler Warren for. Like, they don't have a running back like Breece Hall, James Cook, Amari Hampton, where we could go through and we could try to send like, oh, Tyler Warren and Tyrone Tracy. Give me back James Cook. Give me back Breece Hall. Not possible here. Their only running backs are Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. Couple different things we can do, but I think it would all hinge on us selling Brock Bowers at this point and then us rolling with Tyler Warren ourselves into the future. I would offer them Bowers and Kyler for Lamar. I know that running back's weak, but this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Quarterback's going to make up an incredibly high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. Going over and looking at running back where they have Derrick Henry and they have McCaffrey, it is going to be it is going to be significantly harder to trade for these guys after week 1 where they both just absolutely crushed, right? But realistically, if you could send like Bowers and Tracy for either Henry or CMC, it would be an absolute no-brainer. Or Bowers and Kenneth Walker. If you could go Bowers and Walker to Derrick Henry, Bowers and Walker to CMC, if this team's worried enough with Kittle, maybe they bite. But again, I think our number one thing that we have to figure out is how do we sell one of these tight ends? One thing that you can do on flockfantasy.com is you can actually sort by positional strength for these teams. Like we sort by tight end strength. Obviously, we're the number one team, but it allows us to find the worst team at tight end. And the worst team at tight end currently has David Njoku. So if David Njoku is their only starter, after seeing Harold Fandon absolutely cuck David Njoku this week, I'd assume that they're going to do anything they can to upgrade tight end. I would see if we can send like Bowers and like one of those lower end running backs that we have, like Zach Charbonnet. If you can go Bowers and Charbonnet to get to Bucky Irving, I think that would be very important here. I don't think we have a Tyler Warren trade in range. This team is Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. They have Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews as their tight ends, right? I would offer them Bowers and Kenneth Walker for Gibbs. I would offer them Bowers and Tyrone Tracy for Chase Brown. This team is Dalton Kincaid. They have nothing at running back. They have Josh Allen. Hell, I'll offer them Bowers and Kyler for Allen, but after week 1, I'm imagining that's going to get rejected. This team has Tucker Kraft. Here you could try to send Tyler Warren for Travis Etienne. Or try to send Tyler Warren and another running back like Tyrone Tracy to get to Alvin Kamara. So again, 100% what you have to do with this team is I think you, 1, have to drop Judkins for Jordan Addison, but 2, find a way to sell one of those tight ends, and hopefully one of those deals gets accepted. But I sent you over some free vouchers, so like if you have a counter to one of those trades that we came up with, I'd be super happy to take a look at it if your league mates send you anything. But yeah, thank you again, my friend. Now let's go ahead and let's get this going for Mavium. Says, thanks for the help clinching the win last week. League is on NFL, so I can't upload. Appreciate you, my guy, and I'm happy to look at this regardless. So I'm going to pull this up on another monitor just because that's how we got to view the screenshots. As I do this, I will let me give away some more free questions as well. So if you want a free question to flockfantasy.com, all you got to do to enter is drop a like on the live stream. Be subscribed to the channel. We are on our path to 300,000 subscribers. It looks like we actually may have a shot at it, which I never thought we would, but it looks like it. And yeah, drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. But again, all you got to do to enter is hit the like and subscribe. But we are here for Mavium's team. Okay. Mavium says, made some moves, no longer needed. Cheers, mate. Here's what I'm going to do for you, my guy. I really appreciate you. I know you said, so Mavium here says, made some moves, no longer need this. Cheers, mate. No refund needed. I really appreciate the sentiment, but I would feel like absolute crap if I did not. I mean, if you're saying no refund needed, here's what I'm going to do instead. I'll send you over a free team review voucher. That way, if in week 4, after like some things change, if you wanted me to look at your team again, I'd be super happy to do so. So I appreciate the sentiment, but I'd feel very bad if I didn't send you over something. So let me set you up with the free team review voucher. That way, whenever you do want your team looked at, I'd be happy to check it out for you, my guy. But let's get some free questions sent out. We're going to go for barely making it. Just sent you over a free start sit, my friend. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the stream. Let me find some other people to send some free questions to. We got Rubber Bunt. Just found you. Sent you over a free start sit. Thank you for hanging out with us in the live stream, my friend. Let's find some other people. We got Machine Gun Cuddy. Just found you. Sent you over a free start sit. Really appreciate you sticking with us, my friend, and hanging out with us in the live stream. And let's send one over to the Notorious One. I know you've been with us for years and years and years, my guy. Thank you so much for everything. And just found you and just sent you over that free start set. But yeah, we'll keep giving away free questions as we do every single night. And here's what I'm going to do as well. I'm not going to guarantee if you send in a team review that it's done tonight. It will, if you send in a team review tonight, it will probably be what we open up the live stream with tomorrow around 4 p.m. Eastern. But I will turn team reviews back on the site for the next 10 to 15 minutes if anybody wanted to get a team review in. And hopefully I can remember to turn those off in 10 to 15. But C-Man with the team review says, I think I linked this team properly, was ranked first before week 1. Now I am plummeting. Yeah, so we're down to 6th now. What happened? You had the Xavier Worthy injury, and we had Caleb Johnson turn to dust. Let me send you over some free questions, my guys. Super excited to check this out for you. So here, this is a start 9 league. This is tough. And you know what I forgot I need to be doing with these team reviews now? I can see if y'all won. I can see how many points y'all scored. So we actually won week 1, which is really surprising here with the Jamar Chase dud. Yeah, we are 1-0. I guess it's just because Josh Allen goes nuclear. But anyway, we have the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight end with Josh Allen as well as Brock Bowers. Now, what I don't love about this is, again, because it is a league in which you start 9 guys, I'm going to operate under the assumption this is a start 3 wide receiver and 2 flex format. So if that's going to be the case here, quarterback and tight end just naturally will make up a lower percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. Another thing that I do want to point out is it looks like with the waiver wire, it's bone dry. There's nobody out here that's interesting. You got RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson at running back. So you would think, yeah, here in the short term, I really need some running back help. I need somebody to start. Can I go pick? No, you can't pick anybody up. Dear God. Wide receiver. Thank God we have Jamar Chase. We have Igbuka. We have Rome. We have Shakir. And then, but like looking at Luther Burden and Leggett, neither of these guys are startable either. I hate to say this, but we go over to wide receiver. There's nothing on the waiver wire. The one position where there are startable players on the waiver wire in your league is tight end. Even though I really like building around Brock Bowers, I love Bowers, don't get me wrong. And I'm assuming you took Jamar Chase at the 101, Bowers at pick 24, Josh Allen at pick 25, which I'm not going to fault you whatsoever for that start. Based off us seeing Caleb Johnson turn to dust in front of our eyes and RJ Harvey being the second fiddle and behind J.K. Dobbins in the short term, you have to sell Brock Bowers for a running back. Because even without that running back, your flex plays are weak. Or at least the bottom end of your flex plays are weak after the injury that we got to dear God. After the injury that we got to Xavier Worthy. So let me go through and let me see what I have currently. Dear God, the devs are messing this up real quick. Let me send this. So in terms of who I have ranked in this range with Bowers, I'm not even going to go who I exactly have ranked in this range, right? We can go through and we can try to mass offer people. So let me tell you every running back I would trade Brock Bowers for. So anybody in tier S, easily. It doesn't matter if we had the number 1 running back room in the league. If you could go through and you could trade somebody in tier S, Brock Bowers for somebody in tier S, which includes Bijan, Barkley, Henry, Gibbs, you do it right now. But for your team as well, I would really like to go through and I'd like to trade Bowers for anybody in tier A. I would trade Bowers for CMC. I would trade him for Genty. I would trade him for Taylor. I'd trade him for Bucky. I'd trade him for Chase Brown. I'd trade him for Josh Jacobs. I would trade him for Devon Achane. And then what you're going to have to do after this, if you're just going to have to go to the waiver wire and pick up Brenton Strange or Jonnu Smith and play the bum tight end. Because again, we just look at specifically the replacement level player in your league. And based off your league mates being very sharp, the replacement level player running back is non-existent. Again, that waiver wire is bone dry. Whereas at tight end, you actually have a few options. So trade Bowers for a running back, leave your wide receiver room as is, leave the elite quarterback, bring in somebody like Achane, then move RG Harvey down to RB2 and hope that we get Caleb Johnson in the long term and you stream tight ends. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. We sent you over some of those free questions. So if there is anything you want to follow up with, I'd be happy to take a look at it for you. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next question. This one's going to be Caveman Lawyer. Says, I'm a little bit concerned about RB2 wide receiver 2 in the flex, especially now that Worthy might miss time. Would appreciate input on the initial draft class and any ways to improve. Thanks. Appreciate you, my guy. We are number one in the league analyzer. I know we start off 0-1 here, but the fact of the matter is it's not your fault. Brian Thomas gave you an absolute dud, and I'm sure you started Xavier Worthy, which I would have started Worthy myself with no Rashee Rice. And obviously Worthy gets hurt at the very beginning of the game. So realistically, looking at the team that you managed to draft, we have Bijan, Brian Thomas Jr. on the same roster, which I was ranking Bijan as somebody at the very top of drafts. Brian Thomas Jr., somebody at the 1-2 turn, which now I had to lower him on my rankings because it looks like Trevor Lawrence just may not be good at football. But so having that combo is incredible. Marvin Harrison and Lamar, incredible as well with them. So the top 4 players with your team, absolutely great. Now, I agree. I think maybe at this point, it is going to be a little bit shaky for what we have with our running back 2 / our flex. But for me, that's not going to be super important. The reason being is this is a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So if you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, the amount of points quarterback's going to account for in your league in this kind of format is going to be wildly high. Like I can almost say right now, regardless of the rest of the team, whoever has Josh Allen probably is 1-0. Let's go ahead and let's pull this up. This team that has Josh Allen had like Amon-Ra St. Brown, completely face plant week 1. And yeah, you pull them up and they're 1-0 just because they have Josh Allen. So you having Lamar Jackson like that is going to give you some free wins in a league like this. Now, in terms of options on the waiver wire, for me right now, I would pick up Ray Davis. The reason being is we just got word that you have James Cook dealing with the hamstring. And if James Cook were to miss a couple weeks, Ray Davis does turn into kind of like an auto start there for your running back 2 that helps your running back position dramatically. We have the anchor running back with Bijan Robinson. We have the wide receivers of Brian Thomas, Marv, Travis. This is a great team. I think you're in a really good spot in the long term. What I really like about your team and why I honestly am going to tell you you don't make any moves, you sit as is while I agree we are weak at our running back 2 spot, the league analyzer is still putting us at the very top of this league running back. The reason being is we have our anchor and you have so many options for a running back 2 to become viable in the long term. Maybe week 2 specifically is a little bit of a tough spot. where you have like, oh, I guess Javonte Williams in your starting lineup, but you're not that excited about it. But if Gibbs goes down, Montgomery turns into a league winner. Aaron Jones goes down, Jordan Mason turns into a league winner. Quinshon Judkins could still crush. Joe Mixon could still come back at some point. So I think based off how you are situated currently, I really like your running back room. Wide receiver is going to get better. We just need Lawrence to be better. And I like the fact that we're built around the elite tight end. And I like the fact that we are just rostering so many RBs here. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. And I think you have a great team. Number one in the league analyzer obviously would be better if Worthy was healthy. And if Worthy was healthy, I'd be trying to trade for a better running back 2 or a better tight end. But the fact of the matter is we are just not going to be able to do that here. Now, Izias says, I felt like I drafted good, but after the first week, I'm having second thoughts. Went from 2nd to 5th in the league rankings. I feel like I have good wide receiver depth. We are 5th in the league analyzer. 3rd through 5th are all about the same. And then 6th and beyond, you start to get that fall off. And then the teams 1 and 2 are far ahead of the rest of the field. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So with this being a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, wide receiver depth's not going to matter. Give me an elite quarterback. Give me an elite tight end. Looking at the amount of startable wide receivers that we have at the moment, it was St. Brown, Higgins, Hunter, J-Mo, Godwin, Addison, Worthy. I was going to say actually we need to sell a receiver, but the fact of the matter is Godwin's nothing in the short term, Addison's nothing in the short term, and Xavier Worthy also nothing in the short term here. So while maybe I would want to tell you, yeah, let's go through and let's look to sell one of these depth wide receivers to get an upgraded RB2, you are going to have to wait. Like Godwin's, like your wide receiver 4, you only have 4 startable wide receivers in the short term, and Travis Hunter may not be startable depending on how much usage he gets on the defensive side of the ball this week. We have the elite tight end with Trey McBride. We have Justin Fields with an incredible ceiling weekly. Obviously, your team got nuked in the league analyzer with the Xavier Worthy injury, but can't really predict something like that. I would like to roster a second quarterback here to play the matchups with Justin Fields. I don't inherently think that Justin Fields is a starting quarterback every single week for you. But the fact of the matter is, when we look at the options that we'd have to drop on our team, we just simply don't have any drops. I'm not going to drop Caleb Johnson for Jordan Love. So if I was looking at this, I would say you probably leave this team as is. And then once we get to like week 4, week 5, when we're hopefully having a Travis Hunter breakout, we have Jordan Addison back from the suspension and Chris Godwin hopefully returning soon. Then you'll have so much wide receiver depth that I think you could afford an upgrade to an elite QB, which I'm hoping this. I have T. Higgins on my fantasy team as well. Hopefully we get like a big T. Higgins spike week and you could potentially try to sell Higgins for the elite QB. Especially here in a half PPR format, I don't think we need to be as incentivized to put a wide receiver in the flex spot. I think running back could be viable there. So I really like your team. I think you have a lot of value at wide receiver that we should transition over to quarterback if we can. But the issue is Godwin, Addison, Worthy are all long-term plays. So we're just simply going to have to stick with this team for a bit until they get healthy. But I really appreciate you. And let me make sure that you have those free questions in case you want to follow up with anything. I think you did draft a really good team. I think you got unlucky with the Worthy injury, and you're going to start just naturally a little bit slower given what we have with all these, like the rookies, the injured players, and the suspended guys. But appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is Walsh, which will be the Scranton Stranglers. We are 3rd in the league analyzer. This is also another league in which the wide receiver depth doesn't matter much. Let me send you over some free questions here. You can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So I really like building around the elite quarterback, the elite tight end. We have Brock Bowers at least, so that's nice. Obviously, we know that tight end's going to make up a very high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. Going over and looking at Kyler in comparison to the quarterbacks that we have on waivers at the moment, you have like Dak, May, McCarthy. So I do think that Kyler Murray is the best option here, but we're not above streaming quarterbacks, right? Like if Kyler's garbage, we could pivot over to Dak Prescott depending on what happens this week. Like we're not married to Kyler in the long term. And if we were looking at what we have in terms of additional value that we don't necessarily need, I'm going to be honest with you. I may or may not have just traded for Tony Pollard. But I am realistic knowing that Tony Pollard probably has a short shelf life here. So if we were looking at what we have with Pollard specifically, Spears is going to come back in the long term. While Pollard may be a workhorse running back right now, we don't know how long that will be the case. So I would like to try to capitalize on Pollard and or J.K. Dobbins, who are effectively both running backs with expiration dates, to get some actual points into the starting lineup right now. Couple different ways that we can do this, but the first thing that we need to look at doing would be trying to find the teams that need help at running back. So this team here at 1, that is Marshall, has Saquon Barkley, and then beyond that, not really exciting to put David Montgomery in at RB2, right? So there is an outside chance that this team would be willing to pay up to get that second RB. So 2 different ways that you can go about this. You could just offer them 2 running backs in return for Barkley, where we sell a little bit of our depth, where we have a ton of depth, and we get the top end elite level name. Like if you wanted to try to go Tony Pollard and Bucky Irving, or Chuba Hubbard and Bucky Irving, or even Travis Etienne and Bucky Irving, because you're playing in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, and we have a tremendous amount of depth at running back, I would be willing to sell any combination of our 2 running backs for Saquon Barkley, and hopefully they'd be excited about just having the second starter. Now, looking at the quarterback setup, they have Jaden Daniels, and I would really like to get to an elite quarterback as well here. So I would be willing to sell any one of our running backs, not named Bucky Irving, with Kyler Murray for Jaden Daniels. Now, going over to what we have with some of these other teams, this team is ridiculous with running back. They have Bijan, Gibbs, and Hampton somehow. Obviously, they're not trading anything for one. This team has, I guess, Trevion, Ja'Cory Cross, Kamara, Pacheco. So the depth isn't the best thing in the world. I would sell any running back not named Bucky or Travis Etienne with Kyler Murray for Jalen Hurts. Like if you could go Chuba Hubbard and Kyler to get to Jalen Hurts, I think that'd be a no-brainer. This team completely fine with their running back too. This team is Tyrone Tracy and Charbonnet. So very similar to what we said with Saquon Barkley. If you could package together any 2 of our running backs, whether that's Bucky and Etienne or Bucky and Hubbard or Etienne, it's going to have to involve Bucky, of course. But if you could trade Bucky and any other running back to get to McCaffrey and give them that depth piece, I think we would look to do that as well in your format with your team. This team has Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Jerome Ford. If you could package together any running back not named Bucky Irving with each other, like Travis Etienne and Chuba Hubbard, to get to Jonathan Taylor, I would look to do that as well. This team has plenty of running back production. This team doesn't, but at the same time, they don't really have that many other exciting pieces. I guess you could try to go like Travis Etienne and Mike Evans, or Chuba Hubbard and Marvin Harrison. If you could somehow pivot over to like Jefferson, that'd be a no-brainer, but Nico Collins could also be in play if that team really needed an RB. And then this team, completely fine. Their running back too is Breece Hall. So I think, yeah, again, the main thing that we are wanting to do with your roster specifically is try to extrapolate some of that value that we have with our running back depth and put it somewhere else on this roster that we can actually use it. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And yeah, again, I sent you over some of those free questions. So if there's anything else that you want me to take a look at, I'd be super happy to check it out for you. Now let's move over to our next one. This is XF Star. This is Michael Penix versus Drake May. Give me Drake May relatively easily here with the rushing upside. I'm going to go Connor over Judkins easily. We're going to go, I would rather stream tight end, to be honest, than play David Njoku or Evan Ingram. I'd rather go for somebody like Hunter Henry. But if I had to pick someone, we'd go Njoku because he's healthy. And then for the double flex spots, Tyreek Hill's an auto start in this range, and we'll go Keon Coleman as well. Now, Heaven with the start sit. So should I pick up Loveland or JJ or stick with Goddard? I think you have to drop Goddard because now you have both Goddard and Kittle injured. I would drop Goddard and I'd pick up Loveland. I think Juwan Johnson is going to be higher in my weekly rankings, but Juwan Johnson has a severely capped ceiling in comparison to what you could see from Loveland. Now, Cool Kid with our next one says, I already did this trade and I got the A.J. Brown side. So James Conner and DJ Moore for A.J. Brown and the Chiefs backs. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So if we got the A.J. Brown side of this, that's probably the one that I do prefer here, since the depth's not going to matter much and A.J. Brown is the best player in the deal. Now, Beto with our next one. Purdy's going to miss this week, so you got to go McCarthy. Running back, we're going to go Bucky and James Cook, but keep in mind, James Cook just popped up on the injury report today, so that'll be something that you do need to monitor and make sure that he is good with the hamstring. Then here for the second flex spot, we're going to go Pearsall, even with no Purdy, tight end Tyler Warren. And then for the flexes, we're going to go Roma Dunze. And then I probably would still play Trevion Henderson over Quentin Johnston. But if Johnston outscores him again this week, I'm going to be a happy, and rich man. Now, fantasy linebacker here. Trading JCM, Brian Robinson, and Brian Thomas for Jacobs and Kittle. I'd rather have Jacobs over Brian Thomas at this point. Kittle versus the running backs. What would we have left over at RB? We would be sitting with Genty, Josh Jacobs. Wide receiver, we'd have Terry, wide receiver 1, Pickens, wide receiver. You can't do this after the Worthy injury. I'm okay with the value of it, but you need to go Brian Thomas in the backs. With the Worthy injury, you can't be trading for another injured player with Kittle. But we are going to go ahead and keep on knocking out some of these start sit trades, et cetera, et cetera. But let me give away a bunch of free questions in the chat real quick. So if you have not done so already, please go down and to qualify for the free questions giveaway. All you got to do is make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you want to come to the very beginning of these live streams when our questions are open, I would highly recommend hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we are officially live. And it looks like we have a chance at 300,000 subscribers. So I'm going to also turn off questions just for a bit, but we'll turn them back on at some point here. And well, let's give away some free ones. We got Zelda with a free one. Let me send this over to you. Just found you on the site and just sent you over a free start sit. Really appreciate you. We got Mark 2319. For some reason, I feel like Mark has already won a free question, but again, not going to penalize somebody for hanging out in the live stream too much. Just sent you over a free start sit as well. Let's send one out to Frank the Tank. And just since you won, my guy, I know you've been with us for a long time. Really do appreciate you. But we'll give out some more free questions in a second. Let me go through and answer what we got now, though. Other thread says, should we waiver wire a new tight end? If you have Hunter Henry, no, you're fine. And you want to get rid of Tony Pollard soon. I'm not going to fault you for wanting to get rid of Tony Pollard before we have Tajay Spears come back. But I would actually expect that Pollard is a pretty big week this week. So in my mind, I think you'd be better off trying to sell Pollard a week from now than right now. Now, our next question's from Beto again, trading Trevion and Tyler Warren for Keon and McBride. I'd rather McBride and Keon. I know Tyler Warren looks like a straight up league winner at this point, but I still view McBride in a different tier. Maybe I'm wrong for that. If you think McBride and Keon are, McBride and Warren are close, then you stick with Warren. But big deal. We're going to go to Devonta Smith here at receiver. I think Smith is more appealing now that you have the Goddard injury. I'm going to go DJ Moore over Olave. And then for the flex, half PPR format. So I think you can start Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, but let me at least see him outscore Olave 1 week before we decide to do that. Now, Manny with our next question. Quarterback, we're going to have, I'm going to go McCarthy over Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, tough matchup against the Broncos. Wide receiver, give me George Pickens pretty easily there. And then for the 2 flex spots, I'm going to go with Eckler and Keenan Allen. I know Ramondre is technically the starter in New England, but I don't care. He's a bum. Hunt with our next one. It looks like you may have to start Loveland over Dallas Goedert this week. Goddard sprained the knee and is not practicing right now. And then for the flex, I will go with Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, even though, again, I am hesitant to tell people to start Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt where you have a really tough matchup against the Packers this week. Now, J Bark with our next question. Running back, we have Javonte, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, and R.J. Harvey. I'm going to be boring. I'm going to go Javonte. Implied team total 25 points for the Cowboys, and they're heavily favored and should be able to run the ball. Brady, quarterback, we are going to be rolling with Broncos project to score more points over the Jets, but Justin Fields going to have more rushing upside than what you get with Bo Nix. So it's not the easiest spot here. I'd probably go Bo, but it's close. Then wide receiver, we're going to go ahead. We're going to auto lock Ladd McConkey and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then for the flex, full PPR format, we probably go with the receiver again. T. Higgins is in a very big bounce back spot, in my opinion, where right now you're in a spot that the Cincinnati Bengals project to be the second highest scoring offense on the week. Now, of course, that was the case last week. It didn't happen, but I still probably start Marvin Harrison over him. I just looked at my wide receiver rankings this week. I have Harrison, Higgins, and Sutton ranked back to back to back. Okay, now our next question will be coming out from Mother Flocka. Running back, we got Barkley. I'm going to go ETN over Hampton this week. ETN, too good of a game environment. Highest over-under of the week. I'm going to go with Higgins and Igbuka over Tet, and then we'll go between Tet and Hampton. It is tough. Hampton only saw 1 touch go to Najee Harris. Let me see what the underdog projections are on these guys. The Chargers supposed to score way more points. I know that. Hampton currently is higher, lower, 75.5 total yards. But again, this is a full PPR format. So Tet's in a full PPR league, I think we go Tet. But I'm really excited about Hampton after last week. Z Leon, we need 2 receivers. London looks like he's going to play. Evans is an auto start. And then for the flex spot, I'm going to go with DJ Moore over Jerry Jeudy. Now, Denafis, or running back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to play. Spam the chat. Are you going to be going with Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt in a really tough matchup against the Packers? Or would you rather start Kenneth Walker? Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt or Kenneth Walker, who are you going with? We got Walker, JCM, Walker, JCM, Walker, Walker, JCM, JCM. Zach says the people have spoken. JCM, Walker, JCM, Walker, 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 JCM, Walker, JCM, Walker. It looks like more people are on the Walker side. It is close there. And then I would play Pickens over both players here in a full PPR format. Again, I think you should be really excited about JCM in the long term, but just this week specifically, you have a really tough matchup against the Packers. Now, Rusty Shackelford trading Achane and DK Metcalf for Jamar Chase. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we have plenty of running back production now with the ETN breakout. So we're going to go with Chase. Cleddy says, anyone on the waiver wire also worried about Njoku in the tight end position? I can't see your waiver wire, but I'll say, yeah, you should definitely be very worried about David Njoku. The last thing I'd ever want to do is play David Njoku this week. So I would go to the waivers and see if you can pick up somebody like Hunter Henry or maybe like Jawan Johnson. And then for the flex spot, I'm going to take DeAndre Swift over Keon Coleman personally. I know Keon was much better this past week, but Swift only had he had With DeAndre Swift, you only had, I think, one touch going to Kyle Monangai last week. DeAndre Swift had every single carry in that backfield. Now, Rich Porter for the flex. You have no Jennings. You have no Worthy. You go JMO. I'm going to go JMO in a PPR format over Dobbins. I think the Lions bounce back in a big-time way. Now, Matthew trading Etienne, James Conner, Jordan Addison for Genty, DJ Giddens, Rashee Rice. Addison to Rice, clear upgrade. Etienne to Ashton Genty, clear upgrade. You're paying James Conner to get it done 100%. You're going to go with the Ashton Genty side. Keeley with the start sets. Here, running back, we're going to go Jonathan Taylor, Kyron as auto starts. Wide receiver, your auto starts going to be Jamar Chase and Egbuka. And then for the flex spot, we're going to go Pearsall with no Jennings and Kittle. We're going to go Tyrone Tracy. Now, Zanny with our next one. For the flex, give me full PPR format. I'm going to go Metcalf. He had 4 passing touchdowns from Rodgers last week. He looks okay, and I don't expect Ben Skoranek to be scoring many of those touchdowns going forward. Drew says, what are your opinions on Dobbins for Tracy? I think that if we're going to be looking at both these running backs in the long term, they are at risk for rookies to come in and take roles. But I am more concerned about what we have with RJ Harvey than I would be with Tracy. Ethan with the trade. This is Pollard and Chase for Genty and London. Okay, so looking at this, it's tough. I think you're effectively trading a late first round redraft pick and a second rounder for like an early first round redraft pick and a 5th. I would love to know y'all's opinion on this. In my mind, this looks like a fair deal. But who would y'all rather have? Would y'all rather have Chase and Pollard or London and Genty? Left or right? Please let me know. We got left, right, 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 left, right, 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 fair, right, right, left, 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 left. It looks like it is a fair deal. This is honestly going to be up to you and your personal values. I don't even think it matters your roster. You're swapping a running back and a receiver for a running back and a receiver. Logan with our next one. We have a tight end and a flex that we need. We're going to go Ertz over Ingram, even if Ingram plays. And then we're going to go DJ Moore over Ja'Cory Cross-Garrett and Keon Coleman. Youngsto with a massive dono says, what's up, man? Brock Purdy's now injured. I have a decent amount of wide receivers, so I figured I could make a move for a tight end and a quarterback. It's a 12-team double flex league. Here's the thought process with this. And, of course, let me make sure we set you up with a decent amount of questions to help you out anytime you want going in the future. I completely understand Brock Purdy going down. It sucks, right? Let's see the options that we have on the waiver wire currently. Oh, this sucks. I was going to say, man, this trade would be absolute garbage. Go pick up a quarterback off waivers. But we go through and look at the best quarterback off the waiver wire. It's Geno Smith. Am I that excited about Geno Smith? No, I'm not. Okay, so I understand where you are coming from. And we have the number 1 team in the league analyzer, right? We have Lamb, Evans, Hunter, Smith at receiver. Running back, we have Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson, Tajay Spears, Blake Corum. As a general side note, waiver wire moves that you need 100% need to make: cut Blake Corum, pick up Caleb Johnson. I don't care that you have Kyron Williams. If Tajay Spears is not on your IR and he's actually going to be on your active roster, if he's on your bench, I would cut Tajay Spears for Ray Davis. If Spears is on your IR, cut Brian Robinson for Ray Davis. Going over to receiver, nobody's that exciting on waivers. And going over to tight end, you have Kate Otten as the main guy. Also not exciting. I would cut Joshua Palmer for Kate Otten, however. And then you know what I'm going to do realistically? You can't make this trade because the fact of the matter is Purdy will come back in a couple weeks. We can get by with streaming Geno Smith for the time being. You are losing too much value here if we're making this trade for Justin Fields. I think this kind of deal would need to be for a quarterback in the range of Joe Burrow. But I don't think you can do this for Fields, my friend. But I sent you over some of those. Let me just make sure we send you over another free trade question, just in case you have anything that you want to follow up with on this. Now, Nate Tano trading Kenneth Walker for Rashee Rice. Yeah, I would go ahead and make this deal. I know maybe... never mind. Your running back room's garbage. I think you honestly may have to hold on to Kenneth Walker and hope that he expands his role here. Your running back room's too weak. I would rather have Rice in a vacuum. Dexter, here, 4-point passing touchdown. Give me Caleb. 6-point passing touchdown. Give me Lawrence. Lawrence is a good matchup this week. Running back, I'm going to go with RJ Harvey. Unless if Judkins doesn't play, then you go Dylan Sampson. Wide receiver, give me the combo of Tet and Tyreek in the flex. Now, Unga Lord, quarterback, give me Kyler over Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, tough matchup. And then I'm going to go with Trevion here in the flex over Diggs. Ben Dogs, don't judge my receivers. Keeper league, second place in 2024. Oh, brother, the Worthy injury kills you. You have to play Waddle and Hunter. But even tight ends, yeah, you are in a rough spot. I would consider playing Brenton Strange over Njoku with the Harold Fannin usage. Noah says, looking for a long-term quarterback. Any ideas of what to do? You don't really have options on the bench with a ton of value. I don't know if you can make a trade. I think you just continue to stream. This week, I'd rather have Dak over May. Let me refresh, get going with some more. And Cindy M says, are we unable to submit a question if you're already streaming? Here's the honest truth of this. And you can let me know y'all's opinion in the comment section. There are too many people wanting to get questions and too few hours in the day from me. There are two different options of what we can do from here. What we can do from here is I could double the price on everything on my questions on the site, which hopefully lowers the volume by like half. And I can have questions turned on at all times. Or I could keep the prices as is, and I could make it an exclusive thing where we only have questions open for like an hour a day. For the time being, what my plan is we're going to keep the prices the same. I already feel bad for how much we have to charge for these questions. It'd be very, very shitty of me if I raise them. So I'm going to just, the only option that I see from here is like if I turn on team reviews for 10 minutes, we get 15 cent in. If I turn on start sit and trade for an hour, we get 300 cent in. So I'm just going to turn them on and off. Again, I think what the smart business move would be is just double to triple the prices on everything. And then I could stream for the same amount of time, just make double, triple the money. But it's already too expensive to get a fantasy football question. So I don't want to do that. And instead, we'll just make it a more exclusive thing. So if you wanted to be able to get to the beginning of these live streams when we'll have those questions turned on, and maybe we turn them on again on this stream, we'll see. I don't know how many we have left. I would recommend hitting the bell next to the subscribe button, and YouTube will let you know when we go live. But like the thing is, obviously, like I really appreciate all the support, but I feel like I'm in a lose-lose situation. Because people are either going to get mad at me that the questions are turned off, or people are going to get mad that we raise the prices. And I would rather y'all get mad that the questions are turned off. Now, Mudflap says, please give me your thoughts on the trade. I have Mike Evans and A.J. Brown, Marv, and Keenan as the receivers. Okay. I think from a value perspective, Harold Fanta doesn't really hold any value in this league in a 10-team format where you start 2 receivers in a flex. So I realistically would just go out there and I'd pay this price to get Trey McBride, I think, pretty easily. Okay, so let's move this over to our next one. We got Mr. Squirrel sending Devonta Smith and Ayuk for T. Higgins. Yeah, I think it's a completely fair price point to go get Higgins. It says it's a start 10 format, so it says it's super, super deep, which maybe in that sense, it scares you off it a bit. Okay. And yeah, the other thing is too, there are other people on the site that you can ask a question to. Like, I'm not the only person who can answer your questions. Y'all can pick somebody else to ask a question if y'all really need an answer. Now, Samazone Prime says, auction, draft, if rejected, what are the other trades? Kenneth Walker to Tyler Warren. Give me Tyler Warren. Juwan Johnson for Jordy Cross-Gamerett. Yeah, this is very easy. The JCM deal. If you're looking for another tight end that you could try to trade for, you could try to go for Laporta, where Laporta had a very strong end of last season and really strong week 1 as well. Now, Drizzle with the start set. Here, wide receiver, I'm going to go Sutton, and between Tyreek and Adams, it's tough. I'm going to go Tyreek. Implied team total, 22.5 points. Sportsbooks are telling us we're going to get a big bounce back from the Dolphins offense. And I'm going to go with Kamara here in the flex. Now, Bonehead with our next question. For the flex, we don't have Worthy anymore. We're looking at like Keon or Rome. And I'm not starting any of these running backs. So I'm going to go Keon over Rome. K-Baked, always happy to see you trading Sharbs for Fields. I have Sharp ranked slightly ahead of him. Looks like quarterback, we have Lawrence right now. If we were to want to stream quarterback, best quarterback available is like Caleb, Goff, McCarthy. So for me personally, if I'm looking at your running backs versus wide receivers, running backs versus quarterbacks on the waiver wire, I think Charbonnet is the better play. Okay, now Sumaki with our next question. Here for the flex, JMO and Jacoby will be the plays if we get reports saying, yeah, it's true, Travis Hunter's really going to play more on the defensive side of the ball. But if we get conflicting reports with that later in the week, where it looks like Travis Hunter will be back to running like 90% of the wide receiver routes, I think you go with Hunter. With Jacoby Myers, he absolutely crushed last week. Got to play against him. But yeah, no Christian Gonzalez. And Bowers got banged up. Now, Glazy trading Daniels for Allen. Clear Allen side. Corey Cross-Gamerett for Sharps. Give me JCM. JSN versus A.J. Brown. Give me JSN. DK Metcalf for Chris Godwin. So I traded before week 1 a package involving Jaden Daniels for a package involving Josh Allen, which I view Josh Allen in a different tier than Daniels personally, but I think you are paying too much if this is the deal. Now, Danny Boy trading Bijan for Jacobs and Higgins. This is a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Right now, at wide receiver, we have DJ Moore, Matthew Golden in our lineup. So, brutal. A lot of teams, I think you would rather take the Bijan Robinson side. The trade calculator will say the Bijan Robinson side is going to win, but you need a receiver. Dog fan trading Jonathan Taylor and Ladd McConkey for Kamara, Evans, and Tet. So Taylor to Kamara downgrade, Ladd to Evans downgrade. We pick up McConkey. I don't think you do this. I think you go Taylor and Ladd. Edwin here, we need a flex. We have Travis Hunter, in my mind, being the play over Ja'Cory Cross-Gamerett. Ja'Cory Cross-Gamerett, really tough matchup. Travis Hunter, really easy matchup. Cole P trading Chase Brown. and Rashee Rice for DeAndre Swift and Marv. And I guess you have Charbonnet here. I think Chase Brown's in a different tier than these other players. And I think once Rice comes back from the suspension, how desperate are you for some production now? Like wide receiver in our lineup right now, you have St. Brown, Ricky Pearsall, Hollywood Brown. So it's not that bad. I think you can honestly wait until you get Rashee Rice back. Now, Abel, Jefferson, and McBride versus Chase and Terry. I'd rather have Chase still over Jefferson, but I think going from McBride to Terry is too much of a downgrade. If it's a league where you don't have to start a tight end, you go with Chase. But if you have to start a tight end, give me Trey. Michael here, I'm going to go with Fields over Caleb, given the rushing upside. They're not that far off, though. Here, I'm going to go with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt over Trevion Henderson at running back with the reports coming out today. We'll go Sutton at tight end. Wide receiver. Tight end, we'll go with Hunter Henry. And then for the flex, I think we're probably going to end up with Travis Hunter unless they really hammer into us that Hunter's going to just be a more defensive player this week. Now, Wilson Rubert's determining between Caleb and Baker. Give me Baker over Caleb. And then for the flex, I'm going to go with Jamison Williams. I think the Lions are in a big bounce back spot. Elias trading Ladd and Kincaid for Tet and Rice. This is a league in which you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. Ladd to Tet, clear downgrade, but Rice would be somebody that we're really excited to start in the long term. Tight end, we have Hawks. So yeah, I think you go ahead and I think you make this deal. I'd rather do it next week, but I mean, if we got to do it now, let's do it now. Kookie Bob trading Javonte and Njoku for Sam Laporta. I'd rather have Sam Laporta here. David Njoku almost is nothing at this point. Mr. Philly Wubbs going Trevion and Pickens for Trey Benson and Amari and Hampton. Give me Hampton over Henderson. You're effectively paying Pickens to get the deal done. It's a league in which wide receiver depth matters. We have Terry, Hunter, and that's about it. Your wide receiver, and Michael Pittman Jr., your wide receiver room's not good enough to do this. I think you have to prefer the Pickens side. Now, Mr. Nate Garcia, here on the bench, we have Javonte Williams, the guy that I'd want to get in the lineup, but I'm not going to be able to play Javonte over Etienne or Gibbs, so I think you leave this as is. Now, Jims says, need RB because the league settings was Nico was there in mid-round 2, so I had to take wide receiver. What are your thoughts? You're saying this is a start 9 format. Jims FF, are you in the chat? A running back, we have Kamara and Hubbard and Pollard. So I don't exactly know why we need a running back here. There must be something that I'm missing. If you're looking at the players that I would be interested in for Tet at running back, Jimmy says, yes, that's me. Can you explain why do you need a running back? Like, what's the deal? What are your exact league settings that you're referencing that you need a running back for? Jimmy says, I put in a team review, scratch a question. Okay. I'll keep that in mind, but let me send you over another free trade just because if we're scratching this. And I'm going to be honest with you, my friend, I don't know if I can get to your team review tonight. I think it's going to have to be tomorrow, but we'll do it earlier tomorrow. The stream tomorrow's not going to be so late. Mother Flocka trading Debo for Henderson. Yeah, give me Henderson regardless of your team. Ant Vlog says, trade. Can the O-line help Tracy? Thanks. Go. I appreciate you. Dynasty League, give me Metcalf. What's hilarious is how much older do y'all think DK Metcalf is than Tyrone Tracy? Can y'all take a guess right now? How many years do you think Tyrone Tracy is older than Metcalf? We got 2. DK's getting up there. 2, 3, 5, 2, 1, 2, 2. Tracy turns 26 in November. Metcalf turns 28 in December. So it's not even 2 full years. So this is Actually, this isn't a dynasty league. I have no idea why the hell the league analyzer is saying this is dynasty. I thought this was dynasty. But regardless, I'm going to go DK Metcalf. I think Scotty is going to increase his role as the year goes on. Flex, I'm going to go Travis Hunter over Quentin Johnson still. I hope. Actually, no, we have DJ Moore here. I think you go DJ Moore. Unless they tell us, yeah, Travis Hunter's going to play 80+% wide receiver still. Namis trading Kenneth Walker in London for Achane and DJ Moore. London, Achane, up to you. Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, up to you. Completely fair deal. If the Dolphins offense is going to be as bad all season as they were week 1, you would go with the London side, but I think they will bounce back a bit. Now, Kookie Bob, here we need a flex. Tony Pollard's an auto start for the time being. Once Spears comes back in, that will change, but for the time being, Pollard is a 3-down workhorse. Let's refresh this and let's send over some more free questions. And Rabonis is, how many limbs do you have left, Mason? This is a good question. I was literally thinking this early in the live stream. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll send you all over a bunch of free questions in the chat right now. All I need from you is to qualify. Just hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and we'll go ahead and pick a couple of y'all to give free questions to. And also, make sure, like, if you want to come out to these streams so you can get those free questions, to hit the bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube tells you when we are live. Let me see. Did we hit 279,000 subs today. It looks like 300 may be possible. Which is insane. What was I? Oh, yeah, I was looking up how many eliminator teams we have left on Underdog. Let's see. Drafts, best ball. I drafted a lot of Quentin Johnson, so hopefully that helped. You know how damn good I am at this game. So, drafted 150 eliminator teams. If you were average, you should have 75 teams left. Half the teams get knocked out of the field every week. Now, of course, a little bit too early to be showboating. But right now, we have 97 teams left in the eliminator. So we are doing quite well. And I would love to see how many Best Ball Mania teams we're advancing. I think we crush this year, to be honest. Like, so many of our takes early in the offseason look phenomenal. Like, at one point, Tyler Warren was my most drafted one player. At one point, it was Michael Pittman Jr. At one point, it was, at the very end, it was Quentin Johnston. Okay. Let's see what we got from people in the chat. We got As Drowit. Let me send you over a free question. Really appreciate you. As Drowit, just found you. Just sent you over a free start sit on the site. Thank you for hanging out with us in this live stream. We got Shane Dog. Let me send you over one. That free start sit is in your account now. And we got Ben Cooper. Just sent that over to you. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in the stream, my guy. Okay, but let's move back to these. We got profit. Running back, Kamara over Pacheco easily. Wide receiver, Evans, Tyreek easily. Tight end, Tyler Warren easily. And then for the flex, we're going to be going with Deebo Samuel easily. Yeah, super good team. Mavium says, congrats on the engagement. Thank you so much, my guy. I'm looking forward to checking out your team later. But here, running back, we have Barkley and ETN and Brees. It's tough. I'm probably going to go ETN over Brees this week, given the matchups between the two. We're going to go Neighbors and JSN as auto locks at receiver. Tight end, Tyler Warren. Obviously, based on what we had last week, you would start Breece Hall over A.J. Brown if that was just going to repeat. But I think with A.J. Brown, you have the squeaky wheel where we have seen that he is going to complain if he is not getting the ball. He's not going to pipe down. He's not going to be quiet and just take it. No, he'll complain. So I think we have more targets going over to A.J. Brown. I think the Jets offense regresses, so I'm going to go A.J. Brown in the flex. Now, Mr. Nate Garcia says, how are you feeling about Achane? Seen a lot of people recommending to move off of him. I completely understand why, right? If you looked at the opportunities that Achane had this past week, very disappointing. I think he touched the ball 9 to 11 times in that range where you're hoping that you get 15 plus opportunities. He kind of saves his day with the efficiency, which is what he's done very often. And the offense looks to be horrendous. So the offense is horrendous. We're going to have fewer trips to the red zone. And Achane hasn't been fully healthy throughout the entire process. So I completely understand the thought process of everybody wanting to get off of him. For me specifically, when I'm looking at Achane, I'm saying, well, you know what? Sportsbooks are putting the Miami Dolphins with an implied team total of 22.5 points this week. So I think the offense bounces back a bit. And it would be a reasonable thing if you wanted to go through and expect that Achane gets better. If we were to redraft teams today, I would say Achane should probably go at the end of the second round to the beginning of the third round. Like Jeremy says, I traded James Cook for Achane. Was that good or no? I think that was a good move. Now, Kanachi with our next question. Here, we don't have anybody to consider getting into the starting lineup. Like, we don't have any players on the bench. If there was somebody that I was wanting to maybe get off of this week, honestly, no. All these guys are must-start players. Now, goddamn, coming through says, would love to get some running back value for T. Higgins. What are you thinking? I'm thinking you have to play Jalen Warren this week. Kincaid at tight end. And you're having to send up a prayer that T. Higgins does something. If you could sell Higgins right now for James Cook, Breece Hall, Amari, and Hampton, go for it. But the fact of the matter is, I think nobody's going to be trading for T. Higgins until he has a good week. And I think this week he should be fine. Now, you Aldery show trading Trevion and McBride for Taylor. I would rather have Trevion and McBride. I love Jonathan Taylor, don't get me wrong. But if it's a league where you have to start a tight end, I love building around McBride. Ankle bully here at running back. Give me Tony Pollard over Amari and Hampton this week and this week only. Tight end, obviously, we got to go Jonnu. We're going to go in the flex spots with the combination of Hampton and Tet McMillan, even if Keon crushed last week. Now, C-Max says, how much fab for Ridley? It's a 12-team app PPR, start 7. I would go aggressive. 12-team league, if Ridley hit my waiver wire, I'd be spending 40 to 50%. I'd spend 50% of my fab on Ridley. Honestly, maybe even more than that. Thovin, here for the flexes. Play Tyreek Hill, no hesitation. And then we probably end up going with, between Travis Hunter and Rome Odunze, it's going to be tough because, again, right now reports are saying that Travis Hunter is going to be playing more on the defensive side of the ball than he did last week. But hopefully we get some additional news regarding Hunter. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Hunter side. C. Fried says, we need to trade for running back depth. It's a league in which you can start 4 wide receivers weekly. I understand you have a great wide receiver room, but there's no way I can trade Travis Hunter for Ja'Cory Crossing-Merritt after 1 week. Give me Hunter. Josh Lowe. This is Barkley and Jordan Addison versus Chase Brown, Devontae Adams, and Rome Odunze. Addison to Rome. Lateral move up to you. Barkley versus Chase Brown and Devontae Adams. Give me Saquon Barkley. Only scenario I make this move is if you are desperate for starters right now, which your wide receiver 2 right now is Cooper Kupp. So your flex, right? I hate to say this, but you actually probably have to make this trade. I think the Saquon Barkley side has more value. The issue is going to be we have no Mixon, we have no Addison, and we have like no Godwin right now. So the fact of the matter is you just need somebody to put in your lineup. Now, Big B trading Chuba and Ladd for Achane and DJ Moore. Ladd to Achane, give me Achane. Chuba to DJ Moore, give me Chuba. I think Achane's going to be the best player on the deal, so I'll go with him. Beto trading Worthy and Tyler Warren for Trey McBride. Give me Trey McBride. Easily. Ghost says, should I drop Pacheco for Keon Coleman? Running back start Gibbs, Travis Etienne. Wide receiver, we're going to start. I would drop Matthew Golden instead. I would drop Golden or add. No, I'd drop Golden. Wide receiver, we're going to go Terry and Nico. Tight end, give me. Actually, no, drop Loveland. If you have Sam Laporta, drop Loveland for Pacheco. And then for the flex spot, I think we're going to go with Tony Pollard with the 3-down workload. Or maybe am I just being biased because we just traded for him? I actually think no. Looking at the matchups, you have James Conner in a really good spot against Carolina. You got to play James Conner this week. Now, G stacks with our next start set. Tight end, we don't have anybody to choose from. If you need a streamer, I'd go Hunter Henry or Juwan Johnson. And then for the flex, I'm going to go Hollywood Brown coming off a 16-target game. JP says, would you do this for Kyron, Brees, JT, or Cook in a 14-teamer? 14-team league, depth's going to be harder to come by. But with that being said, you have a really strong team in a 14-team format. If this was a 12-team league, yes, I would make this trade. 14-team format, I would only do this for Bucky or Jonathan Taylor. I'm not doing it for Kyron. I'm not doing it for Brees. I'm not doing it for James Cook. I'd say most 14-team leagues actually may want the package here, but your team is really strong. Sergio says, do you think this is a fair trade that could help me? It's Dak, Adams, Evan Ingram versus Burrow and Laporta. Adams versus Laporta, tomato. I would rather have Burrow over Dak and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's effectively a 0, so yes, I'd make this trade. Now, Smooth Mike. This is Chase Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Hunter Henry versus Hampton, Puka, and Kittle. Lamb to Puka, slight downgrade. Chase Brown to Murray and Hampton, big time downgrade. Hunter Henry to Kittle, upgrade in the long term, but no, I'd rather have the CeeDee Lamb and Chase Brown side here pretty easily. Abel says, hope I made the right call. By the way, never received my free questions at sign up. Maybe there was a glitch. If you're having any issues, email support@flockfantasy.com. You could also open up a site issues ticket where I actually have some pretty big news. If y'all been watching the Flock League and know Sammy, who won the fan competition to join the Flock League with us and came down to Austin, drafted, he's been in the league with us, blah, blah, blah. Well, I realized that we have too many people on flockfantasy.com now. So where in the past I used to be able to do customer support, check the emails every morning and blah, blah, blah. I can't do that anymore. So we actually just officially hired Sammy, who started off just winning a random fan competition to get in the Flock League. And now he is a true member of the Flock. And yes, he's no longer unemployed. Technically is an independent contractor, but he is now going to be able to answer your support questions. So if anybody has any issues with flockfantasy.com, if you need an explanation on anything, you can always email. Well, now you can support@flockfantasy.com. And if y'all want a job, make sure you win the fan competition next year. But anyway, trading Brees for Chase Brown, clear upgrade. Trading Ibuka for Ladd McConkey, clear upgrade. Paying Stephon Diggs to get it done, easy move. Yeah, and I don't know if we can call him the fan anymore. That's a good point. Now, Fantasy Foo with our next question. Trading Rice and Travis Hunter for Kyron and Sutton. Rice to Sutton upgrade, Hunter to Kyron upgrade. Yeah, you for sure make this move. Jimmy Hades says he also has Kamara if we want to do a package. Aaron Jones may not look startable at this point. Wide receiver, you have... I don't like the... Why the hell do we have Kenneth Gainwell on our team? Let me look at your waiver wire. I would drop Gainwell for Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier, DJ Giddens, really any of the other handcuffed running backs. Like drop Gainwell for Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier, DJ Giddens. Who was the other guy that we had on our team that I saw that I did not like? I think that's it, right? Yeah, everybody else looks fine. Yeah, but for the love of God, drop Kenneth Gainwell. Actually, it says we had Troy Franklin here, but the league analyst. I would also drop Troy Franklin. But anyway, I think realistically, yeah, you can make this move. Because Aaron Jones may be nothing at this point. Now, barely making it, but also, yeah, make that drop. Do not be rostering Gainwell. Barely making it here in the flex currently as Metcalf. For best option to get in the lineup would be Hollywood. So realistically, we leave this team as is. Not playing Hollywood over any of these names. Now, Nick Battle has Achane, St. Brown, Hampton, and Neighbors. Neighbors, St. Brown, give me Neighbors slightly. Achane, Hampton, give me Achane. I think they're a different tier, so I'm going to go with the Achane side, expecting a small bounce back from Miami. Now, Dylan, this is Charbonnet and Lad McConkey versus Josh Jacobs. Give me Josh Jacobs. The notorious one we have in the flex spot right now, I guess Diggs being the best option. I mean, when it comes to Sharps, I know you had the majority of the fantasy points in the Seattle backfield, but they're still splitting that about 50-50. I don't think you can trust Charbonnet yet. Now, Frank DeTank here. Running back, you go Amari and Hampton easily in the second spot. For the tight end position, I'm going to go Jake Ferg over Harold Fan and Evan Ingram this week, and we're going to go DJ Moore in the flex. And then Vega, this is Hubbard versus Dylan Sampson, Debo Samuel. Is this really a dynasty league? Nope, it's not. And for that reason, I'm just going to stick with Hubbard. I think Dylan Sampson may be, in the long term, a committee running back in the worst offense in the league. Jay Gonzalez is trading Josh Allen and Genty for Gibbs and Mahomes. I'd rather have Josh Allen and Genty. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe it's just because Josh Allen came through in a big-time way for me week one. There are few players I'd rather have rather have over Josh Allen in fantasy. Here, Kayshon Boutte versus Jaden Higgins. I'm going to take Jaden Higgins personally. I'd have Kayshon Boutte ranked higher for this week, but if we're talking long-term. Now, D. Greddy here, I think we can go ahead and we can take Breece Hall in the long term for sure. Looking at this week, maybe this week you go Pollard. Both offenses are going to be very bad, and Pollard's going to have 100% of the opportunities. Now, Chetley, wide receiver, we're going to go ahead. We're going to start Igbuka, and in the flex, it's going to be down between Ricky Pearsall and Zay Flowers. Now, most weeks you'd probably go ahead and you would take Flowers. This week, I have them ranked back-to-back, though. If Purdy was healthy, I would go with Ricky Pearsall. But if Mac Jones, the quarterback, give me Flowers. Now, Gleb with our next one. We need somebody from the bench. A JMO, easy spot for the second flex spot over these other names. I think we get a big-time Lions bounce back. Now, AHRQs trading CeeDee Lamb and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt for Jacobs Worthy Neighbors. Lamb to Neighbors, downgrade. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt to Jacobs, massive upgrade. Worthy's almost nothing at this point. If we assume that Worthy cannot be trusted rest of season, I'd rather have the Lamb side. If you think Worthy comes back in a month, it's probably the Neighbor side. DK says, rank out of 8 out of 10. I feel like the team is solid. Any ideas? I think you go Waddle here in the flex, and the issue is your flex spots are just bad. And then I may be dumb enough to play Mark Andrews over Harold Fandon this week, no Isaiah Likely. But again, the spread on that game is like almost 14 points. So you're just going to have so many more points scored in Baltimore. But Phil, always happy to see us. So was talking to the Bucky owner, and they said they'd take this. We're third in the analyzer. Rest of the running back room is Judkins and Harvey. Yeah, you'd for sure do this. The running back depth is questionable. Let me see what the best running backs on your waivers are. You have Trey Benson you can pick up for free. Yeah, so if you can trade Jordan Mason and Kamara for Bucky Irving and Trey Benson, you go with the Bucky side and you run. Wet Bobby says, starting running back wide receiver combo are Jefferson, Puka, Connor Cook with Joe Burrow. I want to trade Aaron Jones. Who I could get? Bench is Golden Diggs, Hollywood, Henry Herbert, and JCM. Who the hell are we starting quarterback? If you have like an elite quarterback, maybe you try to sell Herbert to like the team that has Purdy. Let me pull up what we have with Aaron Jones in the consensus rankings on the side at this point. Aaron Jones is ranked RB 30 consensus on the site at the moment. And by the way, on the site, we're about to actually pull in a bunch of stats on this side. The wide receivers that he's around are like Shakir, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Josh Downs, Matthew Golden, Stephon Diggs, Jerry Jeudy, Michael. Do not expect to get much for Aaron Jones. Like, that ship has kind of sailed after everybody saw the split with Jordan Mason week 1. Now, if you have like Justin Herbert and you can send Aaron Jones and Justin Herbert, and let's sort this by, let's sort this by my rankings. If you could go through and maybe trade like, these tiers are definitely not correct. Let me see something. Actually, we'll do that on the other screen. Like Aaron Jones and Justin Herbert and get up to a running back that's RB 19 or better for me, or honestly RB 23 or better. I think we would go ahead and do that if you have a top end quarterback. Which I'm assuming you do because you say Justin Herbert's on the bench. Then Eagles Fantasy says flex Judy, Keenan, Montgomery, or Ricky Pearsall. I would go Ricky Pearsall even with no Purdy. Yeah, for sure. But it looks like that's it for these questions. Let me see how many team reviews that we need to get through. Holy hell. We had team reviews open for about 10 minutes and we had 20 sent in. So we're going to have a long stream tomorrow. I don't know if I can even open up team reviews anymore. But I think that's going to be it for the live stream tonight because I still have to make a video for y'all tomorrow. And yeah, I'm going to have to figure out what we can do with these live Q&As. I think fantasy football is a lot bigger this year than it was last year. Because last year, the questions were manageable and I was able to do them. This year is getting a lot tougher. But I really appreciate y'all hanging out with us in this stream, of course. I'll be back tomorrow. Again, if you want to be able to get your questions in to these streams and win free questions as well, highly recommend subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out at the beginning of the stream when we will turn those questions on. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I really hope you have a great day, and I really hope I get to see you tomorrow.